Michael, it's all about expectations, and they're trying to dampen it at the moment because that opinion poll that came out over the weekend that put Mitt Romney in the lead then ensured that if he does anything than perform quite well, it's going to be disappointing. But it certainly looks like it's going to be a pretty tight race for those top three positions: Mitt Romney, Rick Santorum and Ron Paul. Rick Santorum is the interesting one to look at because his support has certainly surged over the last few days. He's the candidate that has spent the most time here in Iowa in the early stages, driving around in a minivan with one other staffer or members of his family, trying to meet as many Iowans as possible. And he's hoping that will pay off once they start voting.
The problem, though, if Rick Santorum does translate that surge into victory in Iowa, he's got precious little cash and resources, as you just touched on, to carry his campaign further.
And look, that is absolutely the case because he doesn't have the organisation. When you talk about the minivan and the one staffer and his family backing him, what that means that he does not have the hundreds of volunteers that the other candidates have who are going to be at these caucuses and generating the support and enthusiasm to make sure those votes get across the line. Of course, they go to New Hampshire from here, which is just a week away, and Rick Santorum has spent precious little time there. So there's a suggestion he'll barely register there. So yes, even if he does perform well here, he doesn't have a lot going for him further down the track, but the story will be about whether the expectations surrounding Mitt Romney come to fruition, or whether if he drops to a disappointing third spot or even fourth, then there'll be real trouble for the Romney campaign. But of course, there's also Newt Gingrich, who has had a really disappointing few weeks. They blistered him with attacks here with the negative television ads, and that has really taken its toll on his campaign. And in fact, he was pretty unhappy about that this morning in some interviews, and said that he'd asked Mitt Romney to condemn some of the ads that had been running against him. Whether he can brush that off as the voters head in is yet to be seen, but certainly he's one that would have hoped for a much better showing here in Iowa than it looks like he's going to see.
Well, Newt Gingrich went as far as calling Mitt Romney a liar in one of those TV interviews this morning, and you touched on those negative ads. Money, as we all know, plays a very big role in any US political campaign, but it's more the case in this particular Iowa caucus.
Well, it sure is, because there was a Supreme Court ruling in 2010 which changed these political action committees. They're called super PACs, but basically they can raise and spend unlimited amounts of money as long as they don't have, they don't share strategies with the candidates, and they don't funnel that money to the candidates. So what you've seen are some of these super PACs running these television ads, millions of dollars worth of television ads, and the candidates like Mitt Romney can put their hands up and say, oh well, it doesn't have anything to do with me. I can't help it if this super PAC is going to hammer Newt Gingrich until he doesn't know what's hit him.
And if we have disappointing performances by those lower string candidates like Michelle Bachmann, like Rick Perry, could we see them perhaps drop out as early as tonight, or will they try to live to fight another day?
Well, how far has Michelle Bachmann fallen when you and I were talking about her win in the Iowa state in the straw poll just in August, when she was the flavour of the month, and now she's right at the bottom of the polls. This first vote here in Iowa is often about the campaigns that get forced to fade away and drop their candidates rather than those who succeed, and you would have to think there'd be questions about Michelle Bachmann's future if she does as badly as is expected.
And when could we expect a result there, Lisa? How soon will those votes be tallied?
A few hours after the voting begins. They're saying it's not like the Democrats where they caucus into various corners of the room. This is a secret ballot, and it shouldn't take too long at all.